Ahoy, ahoy, what up? Kevin Boothby here, and I am out in the dinghy in the rain doing a little reconnaissance here. As you can see, this is right now I'm in Whitehall Bay, and the boat is anchored in Mill Creek, and there's quite a narrow winding channel that leads into this harbor. And so what I'm doing is going around and taking depth soundings with this very handy little electronic depth sounder. And what I want to determine is how much water I have if I happen to stray off to the side of the channel, if the wind foils me and I'm not able to hold course. And so far what I've determined is that the green hand side of the channel, so when I'm heading out, the green markers are on my starboard to the right. There generally is some water off to that side. However, with this last green marker, the last two, and then the red here, which is the 2M, you cannot get very far at all to the red side of the channel. It shoals up very quickly to about 3 or 4 feet. So it's quite narrow. In fact, it's too narrow for me to tack through. And right now with these southeasterly winds, it would not be possible for me to sail out of here without getting a tow. But we're in no rush. And these winds are supposed to come around to the west-northwest tomorrow morning. And that looks like they'll probably die away around noontime. So the plan is to sail out in the morning where I will have winds basically behind me or reaching. And then just go on to the other side of Whitehall Bay. And there's an area there you can anchor. It's a little bit exposed, but it's wide and easy as a takeoff point. So then I can sail away at my leisure from there, and I don't have to worry about negotiating this narrow winding channel. Okay, so here we are the following morning, and the anchor's up, and the mainsail is raised and set. As you can see, I'm using the sculling oar here for two purposes. One is just to get her to bear away off the wind. With just the mainsail up, that puts the center of effort fairly far aft, and because she has so little way on her here, the rudder's not going to be very effective in steering her off of the wind, away from the wind. So I'm going to use the sculling oar to give us a little help, as well as also using it just to give us a little momentum push, just to get the boat going. Because in these light conditions, the boat is having trouble accelerating. So here we are, and moving very slowly, and you can see the red markers just off our bow. That's the first channel marker, which we have to leave to port, which leads us into this narrow winding channel. And as you can see, these winds are so light that I'm having to physically just move the boom when I release the main sheet to get it to pay out, because there's just not enough air pressure to overcome the friction of the rope and the blocks. And it's early in the morning. I'm gulping down my coffee here and still trying to wake up. So here we are, just about to enter the channel, moving along very slowly. We probably have about 2 or 3 knots of actual wind here, and it's behind us. So just a zephyr, just enough to get the boat moving, keep the boat moving, and no more. And luckily, we don't have any tidal currents, or not much to speak of there. And so now we're approaching the first green there. And we have one brave lone osprey, seems to have colonized that marker, and he's not going to move. Well, maybe he is. He's thinking about it. And, oh, there he goes. He's not going to take any chances. As you can see, as we're kind of getting into the channel here close to the shore, the wind is lifting off the water. There still is some wind, but it's not making it down to the water. So we're almost just going on momentum here. But there is a little bit of wind up off the water, which is continuing to push us along here. As you can see, I'm using the rudder, and she's changing course toward the second marker. And now it's time. We're going to have to go through a jibe here. And so we've just come through our jibe, and at least there's enough breeze to hold the sail out, even if it's not being held full. There's enough just to hold the boom off to leeward there. And so it's still slow going, but we're working our way through the channel here. And it's a nice quiet morning. You can see it's a hazy day. We've got a sort of haze and fog there. And it's a weekday morning, so it's very quiet, mainly just the birds making noise. And so here we are coming up on that second to last marker, the green. And as you can see, I'm hugging that green, because remember when I did my depth soundings off to the left there, it gets shallow fast, so I don't want to get anywhere near that. And so here we are coming up on the last red marker, and then after that it widens out, and we'll still be sailing slowly, but at least we won't have to worry about going aground. And so here we are, anchored behind Hackett Point. And I swing the camera around here. As you can see, this is a very wide and easy anchorage. So sailing in and out of here is no problem at all. So what I want to impress on you in this video is that it is possible to get around without an engine. However, you do have to be strategic about it. You can't just make brute force moves and follow your own schedule, because of course you depend on the wind and the tide. In this case, right now we have a southerly wind working in, and it's supposed to build this afternoon, which is a perfect wind for heading north up to northwest up to Baltimore, which is where I'm headed today. However, had I stayed in Mill Creek, I would have been faced with the problem of trying to get out of that narrow entrance, and it may not have been possible to tack out of there. There's a good chance I would have wound up aground trying to do it. So by sailing out the previous morning with just a light wind behind me and moving over to a much wider, to this anchorage here, which is wide and easy to sail in and out of, I've gotten around that problem. If you are sailing to a strict schedule, such as you're chartering your boat and you need to pick up guests at this time and drop them back off at this time, you're going to need an inboard engine for sure. However, for a cruising sailor, where you have a little more leeway, an engine is not necessary. And so again, what I want to impress here is that don't think that it's not possible to go cruising without an engine, because it is. But you do have to understand that you have to be a little more, you have to be thinking ahead and strategizing about your moves, and kind of like a chess player. You got to be thinking several moves ahead. Otherwise, sailing without an engine probably will be quite difficult and may get you into trouble.